about 4:11.
Chairman Johnson, Vice Chairman Dion,
Present.
Member Becker,
Here.
Member Connors,
Present.
Member Boney,
Present.
Member Reposa, Member Scholl,
Present.
Executive Director Miguel Nunez,
Present.
City Councilor.
Present.
All right, the first item of business, the board may discuss and vote to approve the minutes of the meeting of February 3, 2026.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve those minutes. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it, and motion carries. Item number 2, the board may discuss and vote upon the recommendation from the Legislative Committee on the attached campaign finance and election legislation submitted by other persons and entities to the General Assembly during the current legislative term. And with the meeting being held yesterday of the Legislative Subcommittee, I will turn this matter over to Commissioner Bettenker.
Thank you. So for the rest of the board, the way that we would like to present for you our recommendations are, first we'll share with you the bills that we have recommended to take no position on. Then we'll go over those that we are recommending support, and we'll go over those individually, allowing everyone to have any questions or comments. And lastly, we will go over the bills that have been opposed. Those will also go individually. So-
And just one
Yeah,
note I
please.
didn't mention to you. So the companion bills are listed there, so you can read off the Senate and the relevant companion, because that companion will not appear further down on the list. So you can vote on both the Senate bill and the House companion bill at the same time, because they're identical.
And just so that as well, if later on during the legislative session, some of the bills right now that don't have a companion do get a companion, and whatever decision we make today, it will just be the same thing. We decide to have no position or support or oppose. So for the no position, we won't go individually to explain each one of them. I should just read them, the numbers, correct? Is that,
I believe legal counsel
or should we
Montage,
go
is that?
just by the cluster of them?
The attached, this
Yes.
summary that was provided,
Correct.
was this also posted or just the pieces of legislation?
It was posted in the form, but it's been revised and sorted differently. So I would recommend you read them out, the no position, just the bill numbers,
That's
not the descriptions, if that's sufficient.
Perfect. So our recommendation for no position are as follows. Bill 2404 with companion 7091. Senate Bill 2491, companion 7090. Senate Bill 2304. Senate Bill 2486. Senate Bill 2593. Senate Bill 2619. House Bill 7232. House Bill 7234, House Bill 7238, 7380, 7669, 7783, 7784, 7785, 7786, and that concludes the package of those that we are recommending to just take no position on.
Are there any questions on the first part of the report with regard to the bills that the subcommittee is recommending no position on?
Yes.
If there's no discussion.
Oh, there's one. There's a question.
Sorry.
I just have a quick question. I'm interested in, sorry, I didn't watch the recording, but your discussions on the first one, Senate 2404.
Yes. Yes,
What was the reasoning for a no position on that?
That's a great question. Does anybody want to remember? So this is that first 2404 and 7091 is a bill that would allow individuals age of 16 to vote at their local school committees. So I from what I recall, and others can jump in, the board, the staff had no specific position. They did explain that this would sort of include a little bit more of complex work if it were to pass, because it's a little bit different for each one. I do remember as well Ray talking about that we're not sure of the constitutionality of being able to vote under the age of 18.
Right, well,
Right.
the Constitution expressly requires that your voting is only authorized if you're 18 or older.
Mhm.
I don't know what would happen with respect to the 16 years that's referenced in here.
Okay.
While some of us, and I'm pointing to the commissioner on the side, has now a teenager, and
Yeah, while I would actually support that, the question of constitutionality came up, which is the reason why the subcommittee voted no position.
Okay. Thank you.
yeah, thank you. Any other
Any
questions?
other questions there? If there are none, is there a motion to accept the recommendation of the subcommittee with regard to the bills as read by the subcommittee chairwoman?
Make a motion to accept the subcommittee's recommendation on the bills read out that are a no position stance.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? There being none, I request a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
And so next, I'll go over individually of the legislation that we are recommending to support. Some of this legislation we have supported in the past. So the first one is 2309 with House Bill 7092. This is introduced by Senator Chacon. It would reduce the number of signatures required to be a delegate in the National Presidential Convention to 50 voters. It would also amend and reduce the number of days before an election for which nomination papers must be submitted before a presidential preference primary to 54 days, and would reduce the number of days by which the local board of canvassers would need to certify the signatures to the Secretary of State.
And the committee's recommending support.
Correct.
Any questions or discussions from the board?
I think Commissioner Ciccone has a question.
Do we know if this is supported by the group of the city of town committees?
I believe.
I know Mr. Lima is
yes,
here.
I know. Yes, I believe Nick Lima and the Secretary of State was in support of this legislation.
Thank you.
Is there a motion with regard to Senate 2309 and the companion House bill to support?
I'll move to support.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it.
The next piece of legislation we also saw last year is Senate Bill 2131 by Senator Zurier, and the act would add early voting to the 50 feet buffer prohibition for politicking during election day voting. Again, the board also supported this piece of legislation last year.
Any discussion or a motion in regard to this?
This was also supported by the cities of town.
Senate 2130.
I'll make a motion to support the subcommittee's recommendation in support of this bill, 2131.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
The next bill is House Bill 7233 by Representative Fascia. The act would allow automatic voter registration Rhode Islanders to apply for hunting and fishing licenses, to apply for automatic voter registration. That is written in a weird way, to apply while they're doing their hunting and fishing license like they do for the Department of Motor Vehicles. And again, this legislation was also approved, supported by the board last year.
I think I asked the same question last year, but these applications are on paper, I believe. Are they not?
Yes.
So that would be one more paper.
We love the
signature that we'd
paper.
have to look at.
And this is also supported by the Secretary of State's office.
Moving to support that.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
The next bill is Bill 7434. It's a House bill by Representative Giraldo. This act would prohibit ICE employees, agents, or officials from being within 200 feet of any polling place during voting. I did want to note that, and I don't know if it's in your packages as well, that our director did send amending language to the sponsor of this bill, Representative Giraldo, that was worked on with Ray, ensuring that amended language would ensure that it says, unless that person, employee, official, or agent is present there for the purpose of that person voting or returning their ballot. We wanted to ensure that we're not prohibiting someone from
And you
voting.
do have that there in front of you, the proposed language.
Okay, thank you.
And I did point out that to the other board members as well.
So our support of this piece of legislation would be in the
With the
form
amended.
as proposed here,
Correct,
with this language.
With the
rather than
amending.
the initial language that was submitted.
correct.
Correct.
And just for the director, Miguel, this language coincides with what the federal guidelines are. Correct?
Correct. I'll defer to Legal Counsel Marcascio. He did review that, and I believe he felt the existing language there was sufficient.
I found it to be sufficient. Yeah, I did not do any broad federal review. I think the Secretary of State did provide language from a similar code provision that deals with the military. This is not obviously the military, but so this would just ensure that the ICE agents can actually cast the ballot, which is consistent with protections afforded federally.
Thank you. Commissioner.
I just have a follow-up question on what exactly does the federal statute say about the military?
The federal, that's, that was.
Does it
provided by the
prohibit them from
Secretary yesterday.
being at the polls unless they're voting?
Yeah,
Mhm. Yeah.
the language is a little different, but it's for the same purpose. So this is 18 U.S. Code Section 592. It applies to members of the military, people employed by the Army or Navy, including the civil people employed by them. And it does say that the section shall not prevent any officer or member of the armed forces of the United States from exercising the right of suffrage in any election district in which he may belong, if otherwise qualified according to the laws of the state in which he offers to vote. That paragraph is the one that was referenced.
Thank you.
And my guess is that's very old language based upon.
I would suspect it. Well, I suspect this for various reasons, but
Was there any other discussion?
Just one question. May I support this?
Mhm.
It's a good idea. The question, who's going to enforce it?
I mean, I don't know if, certainly we don't have an enforcement body that is present at polling places. And that would be the same question that would apply even for the one that we just saw, which is somebody who's distributing
That's okay.
literature within that 50 feet boundary. Arguably, that would be either by the state or the local law enforcement agencies.
Yes, they will be advised that this would be a statutory requirement and they can intercede, and ask these individuals to step aside.
Presumably, there will be information provided to that effect. Yep.
I have just a couple of questions, but I'm happy to wait for the discussion if that's.
No,
I'm fascinated by this.
Mhm.
Do we know what I mean, I know the general thought around it. I'm trying to choose carefully because I find this to be a little bit provocative in a way. So I don't want to add to that. Do we know what the thought is here? Because I can't imagine that ICE is going to be at polling places where only citizens are allowed to vote. It seems almost, I don't, frivolous to me to add this. It's like proving a political point, which I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm opinion, I'm being, sharing my opinion. I asked a question. Do we know what the thought was of behind who supported this? Was there any sort of information provided to the committee?
No, I shared with the director. I reached out to the sponsor to let him know that we would share new language, and so he did not specify. But if I can make an assumption, right now the legislature is introducing several pieces of legislation to make protections around ICE agents due to what we've seen across the country in the last 2 years. And so I think, to your point, while we have not seen that yet, I think it's in a way preventative from what we've seen at courts and in other places where people may be of any other status. So, and it also doesn't, only citizens don't go to the polling places, right? They might be accompanied sadly by a family member, and so many other reasons.
That's fair. That's fair. So why to 200? We're creating like 2 zones essentially? Is
That's
that
a
what
great
this-
question. I didn't know the number. Yeah.
Because a 50-foot no politicking zone, and then there's another 150 feet.
That's right.
Are we
That's
going to be marking, if this passes, would we be marking that out?
That obviously is not in the legislation. I think that if it does pass, there would have to be discussions as to how we would do that.
Yeah.
I would think that it would be the same starting point, whether it's at the door, going out 50 feet and then advancing another 150. It's really, that's the General Assembly's determination to make that additional buffer zone available for any interference, interaction between ICE agents and people who may be approaching the polls.
Sure.
So an ICE agent may not know that the person is a citizen. They may try to interact with a person as they approach, and this would obviously prevent that.
I mean, currently we have a couple of statutes, 50 feet for surveying, which matches the 50 feet for campaign literature. We also have, I believe, to my recollection, 250 feet for loudspeakers.
Oh, wow.
Something that hasn't been, I guess that was more of a problem back in historically, but there is a restriction on loudspeakers being placed. So we don't mark that out currently, the 250 feet or whatever that specific number is. So I would imagine this would be a similar thing where only the 50-foot is marked out to some extent or identified. This would just be an extra restriction on that would be in addition to the loudspeaker one.
I like the loudspeaker one. That's a fun one.
Okay. I appreciate the feedback. I don't intend to support this only because I think it's dangerous for us to be waiting it. And this, my feelings on this, my position on this has nothing to do with whether I think ICE is doing a good or bad job or anything like that. It has nothing to do with that. I just think that this is unnecessary and provocative, and I don't think it actually moves forward any sort of dialogue on this issue. So thank you, though, for everyone's feedback.
Any further discussion? There being none, is there a motion?
I move to support the recommendation of the subcommittee on this and the amendment provided by that subcommittee. Which we all have copies of that.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
The motion carries 4-1.
The next bill is House Bill 7450 by Representative Fogarty. This bill would amend different sections relating to campaign contributions and expenditures, including prohibition on self-dealing with committee funds, and would prohibit donations made in fictitious names. It would also provide that for purposes of the limitations on contributions, all contributions made by political committees established, financed, maintained, or controlled by the same person or the same group of persons shall be considered to have been made by a single political committee. I'm happy to bring Rick if there's any questions on this one. Right? Can I? Yeah, maybe. Okay, great. If there's any questions to answer.
Just my only question would be, Rick, any issue with the administration of this from your end on the practical side?
No, I think we have the resources to monitor. And again, the core of this bill started in 2024, reintroduced in 2025. For 2026, the new provision deals with the contributions made by a political committee is established, financed, maintained, or controlled by the same person or same group of persons shall be considered to have been made by a single committee. So that is really the only add-on to the bill that the board has supported in the past 2 years.
Thank you.
And Rick, I believe there's some similarities to federal law and how it
I was just gonna add
regulates
that.
this,
Yes,
correct?
that provision about the single committee, that aligns closely with federal law.
Any other questions for Rick or for the subcommittee? Is there a motion?
Motion to support the recommendation of the subcommittee for House 7434.
The motion and a second on the floor. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Just want to make a correction that it was House 7450.
Sorry, I was reading the wrong line, 7450. Thank you.
74.
Thank you. The next bill is 7451 by Representative Brian. The act would require that mail ballot applications include a Rhode Island driver license or state ID number if unexpired or expired no more than 6 months prior to the election, or the last 4 digits of the voter's social security number.
Any questions or concerns from the board?
Motion to support the the subcommittee's recommendation in House 7451.
Second.
There's a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
And that concludes the list of legislation that has been supported by the subcommittee. We'll go over 2 pieces of legislation that we're recommending to oppose. The first one is House Bill 7231 by Representative Edwards. The bill would prohibit members of elected city, town, political party committees, as well as representative from Senate district committees from serving on local canvassing authorities. This legislation was in front of us last year, and the board also opposed it. The part of the reason why we oppose this is we hear all the time how difficult it is to get members to serve in local canvassing boards, and this would make it that much more difficult.
Any questions, concerns, discussion? There being none, is there a motion?
Make a motion that we oppose House Bill 7231.
Second.
There's a motion and a second on the floor. If there's no further discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
The next bill that we're recommending opposition is 7787 by Representative Brian. The act would allow an early voting ballot application to be completed in person using an electronic poll pad, provided the Board of Canvassers with proof of voter identity. A voter would then be provided with a Secretary of State issued ballot to be placed into the state-approved electronic voting device. All voter and election protections procedures would govern the 20-day early voting period. The reason we are recommending the opposition of this, I'm trying to recall if the Secretary of State's office also opposed it. I don't remember. And I don't believe if Nick did either. Part of this, I think it would just complicate things more than we would need to. Any other thoughts that I'm missing? Why can't I remember this one?
I think the general concern was that it uses the word practical
That's right.
as practical to apply the election day
Technicality.
policies and procedures and more protections to early voting, and those don't necessarily line up exactly the same.
Mhm.
So there is work being done by the staff on some regulations to apply election day policies and procedures and protections to early voting, but it's more specific to what would be, would be capable, they have the capability of doing versus just a general blanket application of election day law to the 20-day early voting period, which do not exactly line up for everything.
Yeah, and I did a little more looking into this after we met yesterday. The term "as practicable" is found 5 times in the entirety in Title 17. 4 of those 5 times deal with the term "as soon as practicable," speaking to
That's sweet.
filing
Time.
something. For example, if a treasurer resigns, a new treasurer must be found or apply and submit as soon as practicable. So the term is really one of flexibility,
Mhm.
subjectivity, and it really doesn't comport well with voting requirements
Mhm.
and procedures. So it would make this whole process far too subjective as opposed to making it clear that this requirement applies or this requirement doesn't. We shouldn't leave it to the enforcement agency to almost on a subjective basis make that determination. That would be basically the board.
Yeah.
And I think that I think, Nick, you might have even had some concerns that, or recommendation that it would be far better to actually, if you're going to have less than all of Chapter 19 requirements in there, you would delineate each provision in it, which makes sense to me, that you would have a reference to those that are specifically accepted
Mhm.
from application. That would be far better.
Any other questions or concerns? There being none, is there a motion on the legislation as presented for opposition by the subcommittee?
I'll make a motion to support the subcommittee's recommendation of opposing House 7787.
Correct.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you. The next bill that we wanted to put in front of you has been tabled as of right now, and it is Senate Bill 2334 with a House companion of 7495. This is introduced by Senator Gallo. So I'm happy to have Rick also explain to us a little bit of why we are tabling this one, but in essence, it would authorize funds for security-related expenses, including home and office security systems, as well as ongoing monitoring in response to threats arising from their public service or candidacy. Rick.
Sure. On February 5, this proposal first came before the legislative subcommittee. At that time, I made recommendations in the proposal. There was some clarifying language that I recommended in terms of using some terms that was not consistent with existing language in the statute. There was also a concern about one of the provisions left the candidate or office holder as they shall determine that the security expenses are reasonably related to their risk to themselves and immediate family. So I reached out to the 2 sponsors. We had a meeting on February 11th. They were on board with the clarifying language. They also proposed that perhaps they would expand upon the safeguarding by adding some other things other than physical security systems. Following yesterday's subcommittee meeting, I reached out to them again about the perhaps adding some language that the determination of the candidate or office holder would be subject to the approval of the Board of Elections. So they would not necessarily have the final say whether the security system was proper or not. Again, I emailed both sponsors. I have not heard back from them at this point. So I would recommend probably still tabling it until I did ask for an amended version once they were prepared with that.
So Ray, since it's being tabled,
We don't have to
do you
vote.
suggest we have a vote or to table, or do you just suggest that we pass?
Well, since it's out really for action, because you have it listed here, I think you should vote to table it.
So is there a motion to table as recommended by council and from the subcommittee as well as from the campaign
Thank you,
finance
Rick.
director?
So moved.
Is there a second? The motion and a second, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Yeah. Any opposed? You guys have it. My understanding is that we are not going into executive session, is that correct? Okay, so then that would basically conclude the calendar. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and severally seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Please say yes. You guys have it.